Today, we are talking about sleep, specifically how to get it and keep it when that feels totally impossible. So if you are going through perimenopause or menopause and you have come to dread bedtime because falling and staying asleep has become so freaking hard, and you are just endlessly frustrated by lying in bed and staring at the clock go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and you are stuck in that tired but wired state for hours, this video is for you. I made this video because I have been getting so many comments from women telling me that they've tried everything, they're miserable, they cannot sleep or they cannot stay asleep, and they're just totally at a loss and don't know what to do. I'm Dr. Rachel Felber. I'm an ER doctor and a health and strength coach for women, and I have got a bunch of things for you that should help. Now, I'm actually going to do this video kind of backwards because the last thing that I want to do is stress you out more and add more anxiety to a topic that already brings so much anxiety to so many women. I want this to feel informative and empowering. So I'm just going to start with the stuff that I would and wouldn't do to start sleeping well again, like all of the real practical tips. And then at the end, I will tell you why it's really so important and really needs to be prioritized, especially when you're trying to trade fat for muscle. But I really hope you do stay to the end because I will be sharing a lot of really helpful information about the why. Because I really believe that when you understand what's actually happening in your body, it makes it a lot easier to keep up with the habits and prioritize this stuff. So my usual disclaimer, I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. This is general education, not medical advice. And that's especially relevant for this video because I'm going to be talking about supplements and medications. So please talk to your own doctor before you start anything new. And if you feel like your sleep is really beyond like normal bad, or you snore loudly and wake up gasping for air, please get checked out. There are some specific sleep problems that need an actual workup. All right, so here is the plan. I'm going to give you a handful of things that I would do to start sleeping well again. And I want to be very clear from the beginning. I don't want you to feel like you need to implement all of these tonight or, you failed. Like everything I talk about, since we want these changes to actually be sustainable and workable in your real life, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves by rushing out the gate and trying to do everything at once and not being able to, and then just feeling like a failure. So instead of thinking of this like this giant to-do list, I want you to look at it more like a menu and just pick a few things that feel doable to start with. And you might find that actually alone is all you need. But if you do need more, add more later. I'm going to start with something that doesn't technically fix crappy sleep, but it can fix one of the worst side effects of crappy sleep, which is brain fog. I believe every woman should be doing this anyway, regardless of sleep habits, and that is taking creatine. An exception is if you have pre-existing kidney disease. If that's the case, talk to your kidney doctor first. So most people hear creatine and they think muscles or bodybuilding, and of course, creatine is super helpful when it comes to energy for workouts and building muscle. We love it for that. But what a lot of people don't actually know is its effect on your brain. So at the risk of getting too sciencey, I do want to explain just a little because it's so important and I do think it's pretty interesting. Hopefully you will too. Your brain is one of the most energy hungry organs in your body. Like your other organs, it gets its energy from a molecule called ATP. And it's just burning through ATP all day while you're awake. And every time you burn ATP, it leaves behind a chemical called adenosine. So adenosine slowly builds up all day, and it is basically your body's tiredness meter. So the more of it that piles up in your brain, the sleepier and drowsier and foggier you feel. So this is actually supposed to be a good thing. It is what is supposed to make us feel ready for sleep at night. So then, best case scenario, you get a good night's sleep, and overnight your brain is clearing all the adenosine out and replenishing your ATP so you can wake up feeling refreshed with your brain full of ready to go energy in the morning. That's how it's supposed to work. So the problem is when you're not sleeping or your sleep is too short or fragmented or poor quality, you never really clear that adenosine out, and your brain never really fully recharges its ATP. So it's like you're running on a dead battery. And I know you know that that's exactly what it feels like, because we've all been there, and you're running on empty. I'm talking about that like heavy, foggy, can't think of the right word to save your life, just trying to have a thought feels like you're trudging through mud. So that is literally your brain drowning in adenosine. So here is the freaking awesome part that you are going to love me for. And this is why creatine might be my favorite topic to talk about. Creatine can actually have a big impact on this when taken daily. Creatine is kind of like a backup battery, and it works by taking the adenosine that's been building up and making you feel groggy and turns it back into ATP. So it's not just masking the mental fog like caffeine does. And don't get me wrong, I love caffeine, but creatine can actually reverse it. So the dose for muscles is about 5 grams a day for both men and women, but the research on brain health, which by the way is relatively new and not definitive or fully established, but it is very promising. That research seems to point toward about 10 grams a day or even more. And I personally have been taking between 10 and 15 grams a day for almost a year, and so is my husband. I made a separate video on creatine that gets into all the research and the frequently asked questions, and I will leave the link for that below. But for a woman who struggles with sleep, in my opinion, creatine is a no-brainer. Now, this part is sponsored by PyCey, who I partnered with because I actually really love their product, and I am legitimately very excited to share it with you. If you've taken creatine, and I hope you have, you know that it doesn't dissolve very well, and there's this like gritty, sandy residue left at the bottom that you crunch on that's pretty unpleasant. PyCey is awesome because it dissolves completely. It's actually really delicious, and I never thought I would say that about a creatine. It's strawberry lemonade flavored. It doesn't have a single ingredient that I try to avoid. It's sweetened with allulose and monk fruit, which I'm totally happy to put in my body. No problem with that. It has no added sugar. It's third-party tested, so I can actually trust what's on the label. And it comes in a super convenient packet. Here, this is what it looks like. It comes in these packets with exactly 5 grams each. So you can just throw some in your purse. Just pour one of the packets into 6 to 12 ounces of water, and the bubbles dissolve it completely. This is what it looks like. It's honestly delicious. I personally take 2 a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening, because I want to hit my 10 grams for the brain and cognitive health. But it doesn't actually matter when you take it, as long as you are consistent. And important to know, it starts working after about 3 weeks or so, because it needs to build up in your body. Okay, I could talk about creatine all day. I kind of just did, but let's get on to the rest. I'm going to start with your daily wind down habits, then how to quiet a racing mind. Then I will get into more supplements, both natural and pharmaceutical. Then, just as important, I will cover what I wouldn't do. And then I will explain exactly why this matters in the context of fat loss. Okay, so the first part is all about your daily habits and your bedroom environment. So basically getting yourself set up right for good sleep. A lot of this stuff you've probably heard before, but I really want you to know the why, because it helps us to actually do the thing when we understand why it works and how it works and why it matters so much. Number 1 is cut off caffeine by 2 p.m. I'm so sorry. I hate this one too. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, which means that if you have a coffee at 3 p.m., it's going to leave you with about half a cup's worth at 9 p.m. and about a quarter cup's worth of coffee at 3 a.m. And that is not trivial if you struggle with sleep. So if you love the routine, just have decaf. Number 2 is cut off alcohol at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. So if the caffeine didn't piss you off, this one will. Yes, alcohol does help you fall asleep, but the quality of your sleep suffers even if you don't know. And the quality matters at least as much as the quantity. So once alcohol is on board, it cuts down the time that you spend in deep sleep and REM, and it usually interrupts your sleep throughout the night, causing you to wake up often, even if you don't remember it happening in the morning. Also, alcohol is a vasodilator, meaning that it opens up the blood vessels near your skin. So for a lot of women, this actually can trigger hot flashes or make them worse. So if you're drinking alcohol close to bedtime and your sleep sucks, this is the easiest fix for you, hands down. Number 3 is have dinner earlier. So this is a great example, by the way, of how one size does not fit all, because for some women, eating a high protein snack or even a meal shortly before bed is actually recommended to keep their bodies in muscle building mode for longer. But this video is specifically for women who are struggling with sleep. And if that's you, then eating anything substantial close to bedtime can make things worse. First, the meal can spike your blood sugar and insulin right before bed. And then a couple hours later, your blood sugar can drop, which can be enough to wake you up in the middle of the night. So that might be happening to you and you're not even aware it's because of glucose shifts. And then 2, in order to fall asleep, your body temperature needs to drop. But when you are digesting food, your body temperature actually rises. So that can make it harder to fall asleep. So I would actually try to finish your last meal at least a couple hours before bed. And if you cannot snack after that, that would be ideal. Number 4 is make your bedroom cold, dark, and quiet. And we are talking probably a lot colder than you think, something like 65 degrees. So, by the way, you don't have to do this. If that feels crazy to you, don't do it. But that is what the research shows helps us to fall asleep and stay asleep. So you can take it or leave it. The reason is when your body temperature drops, it is a signal that tells your body it's time to sleep. So if it's helpful for you, if you want, you can get cooling sheets or cooling pajamas, which actually can also help with hot flashes too. As for darkness, use blackout curtains or an eye mask. And for quiet, you can use a white noise machine or earplugs. I left a link to my favorite eye mask below from Amazon. Number 5, this one is by far the hardest one for me. Try to be done with all screens at least an hour before bed. I know, what do we do for an hour without screens? Read, meditate, take a walk, talk to your partner or kids. I guess the stuff they used to do in the old days. The problem is the blue light suppresses melatonin, which is already in low supply after menopause. So if you can't manage an hour, and I will be completely honest, I cannot, aim for 30 minutes at least and use a blue light filter. Definitely try to avoid scrolling in bed because that is literally asking for trouble sleeping. Number 6, easier said than done, but try to go to bed at the same time each night. You can actually train your body to expect sleep at a certain time if you keep giving it sleep at that time. So like I recommend doing with your workouts, put it on your calendar. Put 10 p.m., go to bed on every single day of your calendar for the next 2 weeks and treat it like you would treat a meeting with your boss. Treat it like it matters because it does. Number 7, if you are someone who wakes up more than once to pee, and I know you are, stop drinking fluids a couple hours before bed. So that means not forgetting to drink water all day and then trying to drink 2 liters in the evening like I sometimes try to do. That's not going to help us. If this is more of a problem for you than you think it should be, it's definitely worth bringing up with your doctor because it's actually really common, especially after menopause, and there are some medications that can help if medication is warranted, including hormone therapy. And if you are someone who likes data like I do, track your sleep. You can get a wearable sleep tracker. Your smartwatch can do it, or you can get an Oura Ring, or there's a handful of other ones. And you can see how much time you're spending in each sleep stage. And you can see how these changes, these habit changes can improve your data. So lots of women like doing this because it sort of gamifies it, which makes tending to this issue feel more fun and less like a chore. So that's the whole list. So I recommend you just pick 2 or maybe 3 if you're feeling motivated to do tonight, and just choose the ones that feel the most doable so you can get a quick win and start to make progress. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to quiet your racing mind. And this applies to whether it's when you first lay down to go to sleep or you're up at 3 a.m. cursing out your clock. This is for the women who feel totally exhausted in your body, but your mind will not shut the F up and let you sleep. So here's what's happening. Your nervous system basically has 2 gears: the daytime revved up gear, go, 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 and the nighttime chill and relax gear. And when you can't shut off your brain at night, it's because your system is kind of stuck in the revved up gear and isn't able to switch over, or isn't switching over for some reason. So there are a few non-supplement things that we can do to sort of nudge it toward the chill and relax gear. The first one, which often surprises women at how much it helps, is the brain dump. So keep a notepad and pen by your bed. And last thing you do before you turn off the light, write down everything that is just like swimming around in your head or bouncing around like a ping pong ball, everything you're worried about, everything that you're planning for the next day, all of the things that you don't want to forget in the morning. So you just keep rehearsing in your head. And the idea is just to move them from your brain to the paper. And then if you wake up at 3 a.m. and your brain goes from 0 to 60 with more thoughts and worries and fears, just write them down. Try not to turn on the light though. Yeah, just write them on the pad, and it obviously won't make your brain go completely silent, but it does tend to help calm things down a little bit. The second is extended exhale breathing. So there is lots of high quality research out there showing that this calms things down by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, or your chill and relax gear, decreases your heart rate and your blood pressure, and may lower cortisol. Best part is it's very easy and can be done anywhere, anytime. You just breathe in through your nose over about 4 seconds, and then breathe out slowly over 6 to 8 seconds. The longer you can breathe out, the longer you can spend in the exhale, the better, but do whatever feels comfortable for you. The most important thing is that the exhale is long and slow. That is what activates your vagus nerve and switches you from alert to chill. And for a bonus, try to actually think about your breathing and focus on counting so that your brain doesn't ping pong into 100 different directions. So you can do this when you're first going to sleep and also if you wake up in the middle of the night. The third, which is my personal favorite, is meditation. If you have experience with it, just do whatever style you know you like. And if you don't have experience with it, you can use an app like Headspace or Calm. People really like those. Just remember, keep your phone as dim as possible and keep it in the blue light filter mode if you're going to be using it when you're trying to sleep. And you can do this before going to bed, but I recommend it that you do it in bed because you might actually be surprised and find that it puts you to sleep. So for tonight, just pick one of those that you feel like speaks to you the most, or you feel like would help you in particular the most. All right, this part is for the women who fall asleep okay, but then wake up in the middle of the night and just cannot go back to sleep and lie there watching the clock roll through hour after hour after hour. Number one is don't look at the clock. You see that it's 3:15 a.m. and you immediately feel stressed and worried and frustrated and angry, and that just switches you right back into that alert, revved up state. So I recommend you just turn the clock away from you before you even go to bed. Number two is definitely don't turn on any lights. Don't grab your phone. Don't open your laptop. Don't turn on the TV. Light is the strongest signal that tells your brain to wake up. And when light hits your retina, you're basically smothering out your melatonin bud who is trying to help you get back to sleep. So if you do have to get up to use the bathroom or something like that, just keep it as dark as possible and ideally use like a dim red nightlight. 3, you can always do the extended exhale breathing like we talked about, or meditate on your own or with an app. Last, if you have been lying in bed staring at the ceiling for a really long time and nothing is working for you, just get up and go sit somewhere else in your house. Again, no lights or just very dim lights, and do something quiet for a short time, like read a few pages of a very boring book. And after a little while, you will probably start to feel really drowsy and feel like you want to close your eyes. And at that point, go back to bed and try again. Problem is when you're just lying there frustrated for a really long time, night after night, this actually teaches your brain to connect your bed with feeling anxious and being awake and stressed out. So if you get up and leave and do something and then come back and try again, it makes that connection less likely to happen. All right, now we are ready to talk about supplements. Some women really just need a little more help, and there is nothing wrong with that. I would definitely start with the natural stuff before moving to drugs. And of course, as always, talk to your doctor before adding anything, supplements or prescription medications, especially if you have pre-existing medical conditions or you take other meds. The first is Tart cherry juice. And this is definitely a favorite of mine. And surprisingly few women know about this. Tart cherry juice naturally contains melatonin, and it helps your body make more of your own melatonin without that groggy feeling that you can get from taking a melatonin pill. So if you're going to do this, drink about 8 ounces, ice cold, about half an hour to an hour before bed. And yes, I am telling you to drink something before bed, but this is my only exception to the no fluids before bed rule. The second is magnesium glycinate. This is generally safe, generally well tolerated. It's calming. It helps regulate GABA, the calming neurotransmitter. And it has an effect on cortisol and melatonin. It relaxes the muscles. And lots of women are low in magnesium. And for them, it's probably the most helpful in terms of sleep. If your magnesium levels are normal, the research is not quite as robust that this will actually help you sleep. But for me personally, my mag levels are normal, but I take it anyway because in my personal experience, I find that it does help me sleep. So take it or leave it. If this is something that you're going to take, start with something around 200 and you can go up to 350 milligrams and take it in the evening. The next is ashwagandha. And this is not something that I have actually used myself, but I feel very comfortable recommending it because there is lots of very high quality research on it that shows the benefit. So ashwagandha is especially good if you are someone who deals with that racing mind. It is an adaptogen, which is basically a plant or an herb that helps your body handle stress. One important thing to keep in mind with ashwagandha is that because it's an adaptogen, it's not going to work right away. So you're not going to feel the effects that night like you might with the tart cherry juice or the magnesium. You typically have to take it regularly for at least a month or two before you'll start to feel the effects. So this is something you can get in a capsule or a powder. And actually, holy basil is another adaptogen with really good research backing it. And that one has the added benefit of supporting stable blood sugar and insulin. So that's another one to consider. Last is melatonin. So this is not my favorite, but it's not a terrible choice when done right. If you do use it, less is more. I would start with just 1 milligram, not the 5 or 10 milligram doses I've seen at the store. That is crazy. You do not need that much. And that will definitely leave you groggy and miserable in the morning. But the truth is, even 1 milligram might make you feel a little groggy the next morning. So 1 milligram once in a while, if you really need the help, is reasonable. Now, if you've done all this, the sleep hygiene stuff, the breathing, the meditation, the natural supplements, and you're still struggling, this is when I would talk to your doctor. There is definitely real proven benefit to a small handful of prescription medications, including, of course, hormone therapy. So if you feel like you are at the point of needing this extra level of help, make an appointment with your doctor. And I recommend you bring a list of all of the things that you've already tried so they know that you're serious and this is a real issue. And hopefully they can talk about the next tier. Okay, so we just covered a lot of things, and that's it for what I would and wouldn't do. So if you want to just take that and run with it, go ahead. But I do recommend you stick around for another couple of minutes to hear why this is so important if you're trying to trade fat for muscle specifically, because it will probably help you prioritize these habits even more. I want to make sure you understand that sleep is where all of your hard work in the gym actually gets to take its effect. Not while you're doing the workout, while you're sleeping. That is when your body actually does the repair and rebuilding of your muscles so that they can adapt and grow bigger and stronger. Your body releases the biggest burst of growth hormone, which is the hormone that really kind of leads muscle repair and building during your first stretch of deep sleep, shortly after you fall asleep. So if that is missed or interrupted, you are missing a nice big opportunity for muscle growth. Poor sleep also raises your baseline cortisol, which leads to all sorts of problems, including increased muscle breakdown, insulin resistance, worse immune function, of course, increased belly fat, and lots of more bad things that we want to avoid. Also, remember back at the beginning, we talked about how sleep clears out that built up adenosine so that we can wake up feeling refreshed. So in the context of fat loss, being clear-headed helps us make better choices and have more motivation for workouts and just to able to be more active throughout the day in general. By the way, if you are trying to trade fat for muscle, I cover the topics of sleep and stress, as well as nutrition, protein, strength training, and a lot more in my book, Your Metabolic Reboot, and I'm leaving the link for that below. All right, so you now have about 20 strategies to pull from. I am sure that you've tried some of them, but I would also bet that you have not tried all of them. So pick a few that you heard that feel right to you and feel like you are eager to try that. And I give it an honest try tonight. And then please come back and let me know how it went. I honestly want to hear your feedback. I'm Dr. Rachel Felber, ER doctor and women's health and strength coach. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.